Hey guys, Module 7, Lesson 1, we're just going to dive a little bit deeper into policies and procedures. I know I've been kind of talking about it throughout this whole course, but I want to just dive into it a little deeper. Maybe we can miss something, but I definitely want to, preach the importance of policies and procedures and what they mean for your facility and why having robust policies and procedures are important. I mean, it's important for your quality of care to make sure you have high quality of care. It's definitely important for regulatory compliance. So when a state comes in, they'll cite you if you don't have proper policy and procedure, or if you're not following your policies and procedure. Your accountability for your staff, just making sure that they are following policy and procedures. How are you going to grade your staff's performance if you don't have anything in writing for them to even follow? Or if your policy and procedures are so vague and light and like they can take it and do anything and say, oh, I just was doing what was in the policy and procedure. So you have to make sure, even to hold your staff accountable, that you have robust policy and procedures. And it doesn't happen overnight. I'll provide you guys with basic policies and procedures, but I really want you to, over time, look at your facility and just gauge what you need and just add to your policies and procedures as you go on. You look at your facility, you may have a room that you don't want people to go in. That has to be in your policy and procedure. So, just over time, just build a super robust policy and procedure. I can't give you my complete policies and procedure. I'll give you, because it's like facility specific and it has kind of, names in it that, you can't really divulge. But I'll give you copies of policy and procedure. So you have a baseline and then you can build on it. And then you have a safe and supportive environment. You have to work that into your policy and procedures too. So number one, so promotes resident safety and well-being. We spoke about this. You bake into your policy and procedures policies that make sure to outline guidelines and protocols for providing care, ensuring resident safety, health, and overall well-being. So if you don't want a client going into a certain room, or you don't want clients standing by the stove when staff is cooking, that has to be in the policies and procedures. If you make sure if a client's using the bathroom, that the staff needs to have the bathroom occupied, sign on, so no one walks on the client. You need to make sure in your policy and procedures, if you have guests, that the guests have to sign a booklet to make sure, because you have people coming all in and out of your facility. You have no idea what's in there. What if something comes up missing? And who was in here? Oh, I think that was so-and-so's nephew. I don't know. He just came to visit her. Now something's missing. And now that's going to be on the facility because you didn't even document who came in the facility. So it definitely should be a visitation policy. So whoever comes to your facility, they need ID, they need to sign their full name that's legible, date that's entered, why they're there, and their contact information. So in case you have to call them and see how that visit was, or even ask them any fact-finding questions, like, hey, why did you come here? Who are you? Anything. Even if it's vendors that come, they have to sign it. So, just these policies and procedures, they may seem like it's a lot, but these are the brains and the meat and potatoes of your facility that's going to make sure when you scale to your next location, then you'll have everything in place that you just need to tweak it a little bit to make it facility specific. But these are like the things that are important to you and your business that can maintain that and make sure it runs properly. And then you have consistency of care. So you have policies and procedures where if they're in place, your place is running like a well-oiled machine. So if then what? Like if this happens, then this happens, then this happens. That's in the policy. You've been trained on this. This is what we do. So, and then it keeps things transparent. We talk about that. Everything is transparent. Everything is spelled out. There's nothing left to the imagination. It's all in the policy and procedures. Your documentation and records, that's a part of your policy and procedure. You make sure your record keeping is in order. Like in assisted living facilities, you have to keep your documentation for 5 years. So that means I had facilities that I sold that I still have the policies and procedures and paperwork from these facilities because I haven't reached my 5-year mark since I sold it. So if something comes back that, happened when I was the owner, I can go in my file, go in this book, go to the date and see what happened that date and know that everything was well documented and this would happen that date, that client, this happened, but this was the resolution, it was documented, and then you just go from there because that's important. You'll have things that'll happen, and if you don't have it documented or it's not in your policies and procedures, your staff isn't well trained to document it, you'll be in trouble. And it's just going to cause you headache, and you'll sleep well at night. You could be on vacation in Hawaii knowing that your facility is running correctly, because knowing your place is running like a well-oiled machine, because you took the time in the beginning to make robust policies and procedures that has now reaped the rewards of your facility or facilities, multiple. It's just running as smoothly as possible. Like I said, if you guys need help with your policies and procedures, you can, contract me or contract a professional who's done it. And then just to give you some, some guidance, all you need to do is just send pictures of your facility, a description of what you want to do and with the people you want to serve. And, you should be able to get started with the policies and procedures. Like I said, I'll provide you with this course, with the framework, with policy procedures to build on. And then you just add on to it. And if you have any questions, always feel free to ask. And then confidence and professionalism workload. So having documented policies gives your staff confidence in their role, knowing they are following established guidelines and delivering care professionally. So what does that mean? Right. You'll have some families that'll come in and tell you how to do your job. I mean, they'll tell your employees how to do their job. Oh, you should take care of my mother like this. And you train your staff to be, professional, but then they have to be stern. Like, no, this is the best care for your mother. And we have a care plan that's been written up by her doctor or delegating nurse, and we have to stick to this according to our policies and procedures. They can always revert back to the policies and procedures. They don't have to get indignant. They can say, I understand your concern, but according to our policies and procedures, we have to stick to this care plan that the doctor or the delegating nurse has written. If you want to revert, here's a copy of the policies and procedures. They should have it if they sign a contract for the person to live there. But you'll have some one-off family members, like some cousins or that never visit, that may feel like they want to come in high and mighty and tell you how to run your business. And you're always respectful, but say, hey, look, this is our policies and procedures. This is how we're supposed to care for your mother according to what the care plan is and our policies and procedures. So hey, I'd be glad to email you a copy and make you a copy right now. If you have any problems, you can take it up with the doctor or delegating nurse that wrote it. Otherwise, we can't do anything about it. We're not giving your diabetic mother candy or making her even sicker, giving this person something they shouldn't do, or doing extra care when a care plan says we should be doing this. Because you'll have some people thinking, they're coming in, you should provide more care than what even a care plan is supposed to provide. And it's like, hold on now, you're paying us for this. The care plan says this. So unless you want to revise it and pay more, then we don't have to stick with the policies and procedures in the care plan. So always just keep that in mind. It just makes you a stronger business when you can revert back to the paperwork. We talked about this in the last lesson. Staff training and accountability. We're not going to dive into that too much, but your staff is empowered when they have strong policies and procedures that they've been trained behind. They're more confident. Just like going to the scenario I just said, they're going to get tested by people, and it's just the nature of business. People are going to call you and want to touch you, and you're like, no, this is what I know my stuff. We've been trained well. Training and orientation, staff accountability, quality improvement is very important. So you figure with your policies and procedures, you bake into your policies and procedures that you have these meetings. So those are the basis for continual improvement. So that's why I said it's not set in stone. You have your meeting, and then you say, okay, this is what we agreed to change. And then you document that, and then you go back and revise your policies and procedures. And there's nothing wrong with revise. It just means you're growing as a company. So you go back, revise, review, refine, and based on the feedback, incidents that may happen. You may have an incident report. You say, oh yeah, but going forward, we should start doing this instead of the way we've been doing it. You're just growing as a company. That's good. And this mistake won't happen again. Then risk management. Policies help identify and mitigate potential risks, ensuring that staff are aware of hazards to know and how to prevent accident. So it's like you're training your staff to prevent catastrophes. That's basically what it is. You're training your staff to, mitigate falls, medication errors where someone I've seen stories where I've seen it with my own eyes. I've been to a facility where I saw the aide with several different people's medications scattered out on the table. She was doing medications in the morning. And I looked in my eyes and I was like, that's a big mistake. You should only give the staff should only give medication out one at a time. But this lady, it had in 4 different people's medication. It was stacked neatly, but I said, it's too much going on. You got staff you got clients walking around. I'm here visiting. She's trying to talk to me. She's giving medication. I literally watched her take medication from someone else's bottle, put it in a thing, and I said, I don't think that's this guy's medication. It doesn't match up. And oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Written in your policies and procedures has to be, and it's common knowledge, but it should be in policy and procedure. It should be what you train your staff on. You should not give medication. You should not give more than one person medication at a time. You take this person's meds, you place them, you give it to them, you put the meds back, you work on the next person. Not spread 5 different people's medications out on the table. But that goes to show this place was run poorly. That's why the person called me in to help. And I said, you're gonna have to pay me a lot of money to come in here and straighten this stuff out. And they did, and now they're doing well. But they just shouldn't have happened in the first place. But you get people, they so happy to get in business, they just keep the basic, they never grow, they never do anything. And then 2-3 years down the line, they have so many citations, they're like, something's got to change. Now you got to pay a consultant to come in and pretty much turn your business around. And it's going to cost you money. Or even worse, something bad happens, and then the state comes in and say, hey, you got 90 days to get this together or you're gone, or we're taking your license. So that just goes back to just doing your due diligence, getting your policies and procedures done. It'll save you in the long run. So there are several key policies and procedures that you will need. Be sure to check your local licenses requirements for additional policies, but I'm just going to go over 7 basic ones. When you get your facility, we can go over something like more robust. So say if you finish this course, I have a VIP where I offer additional consulting. For that time, you can take and work on your policy and procedures, make sure that you're up to speed with what you need to do with your specific facility. Now, number 1, emergency preparedness. So that's going to be your emergency disaster plan. So that's like if there's a hurricane or a snowstorm, or what policy and procedures do you have in place that if a natural disaster happens, your client's going to be safe. So they want to see this. They're going to look at your emergency preparedness plan. You have to have one. So you have to have, in case of the power outage, you have to have a backup location somewhere that you can take these clients in case they can't be in the facility. Something happens there. You have to have a fire. You have to have fire drill. You have to have documented fire drills. This has to be documented. That's a part of your policy and procedures. You have to document it. You have to do them quarterly. So you also have to have, blizzard. Like I did a blizzard plan because I actually had one, and I was so proud of my staff. We had a huge blizzard. We couldn't get any. This was 2014. And I was only in business. I started in 2017, so it was 7 years. So I was a little seasoned at the time, but I still was proud of my staff because I wasn't working there at the time. We had a huge blizzard. I'm home. Blizzard came. It was like so much snow. Couldn't get things in and out. But for our emergency disaster, our emergency preparedness, I was prepared. We had food stocked up, put away. We had water. We had everything put away for an emergency just like this. We had medications were all together. We had water. We had water put aside. We had a snow company that was made us priority that I paid. It was the same company that did the grass work. But they made us priority for snowstorm because we had aging adults. We had emergency numbers of families, so we checked in with them, let them know everyone was okay. And it was like literally my staff followed the emergency protocol perfectly, and it worked out fine. And we had no incidents. Actually, everybody stayed in, and they enjoyed themselves. So that's just one incident when we had an emergency. I'm sure I can think of some more, but that was one I really remember. And residents' rights and dignity policies that outline the rights, dignity, the rights and dignity of residents, ensuring that their preferences and choices are respected in all aspects of care. The example I can give of this is I interview my clients like every 30 to 60 days. I did it every 30 days when I used to go more, but now I do it every 60 days. I have my managers do it, and I tell us who I consult my clients to do, because have them take a written testimony like, hey, how was your day here? And they don't have to write it. Have your manager write it. Several questions. How are you liking it? Is there anything we can do to change? If you want us to change anything, what would that be? How's the food? Do you want us to contact your family more to come visit you? Because you have some people, they won't call their family, but they'll be sad because no one's visiting. So it may take us like, hey, your mother's anxious to see you. She was talking about you. So I try to work that in, because if they're unhappy in your home, then, you don't want to see that. You don't want to see your clients unhappy. So it may be just calling one of their kids who's kind of in their own life, doing their own thing, to come visit them. And normally they'd be like, oh, okay, come. So I started implementing that in the policy. So like several questions we wrote down just to interview the clients and make sure they have, everything they need and they're happy. And it doesn't take much. And then when they do things, a lot of times it's just small stuff like, oh, you want different snacks, or you don't want to go to this activity. You're sick of them asking you to go to this activity. And like, okay, you don't have to go. It's not jail. You can stay, you can do something else, but just asking, you'd be surprised, just asking someone, it does a lot. It makes a huge difference. And then of course we talk about medication management. We just talked about this, like having detailed procedures for medication management and administration helps prevent errors. And boy, this is like huge. I mean, you see it a lot. So you want to make sure your staff is well trained on giving medication. You want to make sure you can track the medication, because what I said before, some people steal medication. You have staff to do that. So when pills come up missing, you have to document it like, okay, this is a missing pill. And sometimes you have to swallow the pill, because not the pill literally, but you own the business. So to write up something bad about your company sometimes hurts because it's on paper. But I've had people that I hired that I thought were good, and pills come up missing. So I have to write that up. And sometimes it's so easy for people to be like, oh, I want to sweep this under the rug and hopefully like this person doesn't need this medication. And I'm like, no, don't do that. Write it up, fire the person immediately, let people know that you're on top of it, because if the state comes and they realize you cooking the books, they're going to put you out of business. That's huge. It's opioid, addictions, and people stealing pills are huge. So the minute you see it, or the minute your manager sees it, just document it and take care of it. It may not look good on paper, but it looked better than the state citing you for it. It's like you handled it in-house. You did their job for them. So, and behavior management. Policies for dealing with challenges. Behavior provides staff with strategies to handle various situations while maintaining a safe and supportive environment. So it just teaches your staff how to problem solve. You have incidents, things happen. I've had clients where one woman was dating like two people in a house, and the guys got mad and literally had a fist fight over a woman. It happens a lot. So I'm like, it was a new client that came. She fancied him a little more and tried to dump the other guy, but he wasn't having it. And the two guys ended up like having a fist fight. And I had to literally like call these people families, and one guy hit a guy with a cane. And these are like nice people, but women still have power over men clearly, because even when you're like 80, it still happens. So it's one of the things we had to just like write an incident report, call the necessary parties, see if the person wanted to press charges against the man that hit him with a cane. I had to like see if, ask the family if they felt comfortable with the other guy staying in the facility. And this guy had been with me for years. He's never had a problem. He just was like mad to lose this girl to another client. So, and these was just like old people fighting. It was crazy. But, you have to follow the procedures and just say, okay. So they end up not pressing charges. He ended up staying. We never had any more issues. The guys end up being like cool after a year or so. And then the woman was, I guess, dated the other guy, and it was all good. But yeah, you still have to document that stuff and follow the necessary procedures, because you have in your policies and procedures, you have abuse clauses, you have clauses where if clients are violent, which you can do in that instance, like you void your 30-day exception, you can like kick them out immediately. You can call authorities to kind of help out with that. So all that'll be in your policies and procedures that you have to write up. And of course, we talk about staff communication. I'm not going to get in that too much, but just help your staff communicate better with each other. You have your care notes. We call it daily care notes. So after every shift, they have to write what happened, if there were any incidents. If there's an incident, they write a separate incident report. But in the care notes, it's just like they just recap the day, and they have to do that. But you'll be surprised, people don't do that in the care notes. They'll just leave. They'll leave their shift and just go home. But care notes are important because as an owner, you want to go in and see what these people are doing. So now I just use a program. They write the care notes. I can just log in and look at the care notes for the day and see what happened. And then if you have cameras set up in your common space, which you should, I'll link the cameras that I use, the new wireless ones. When I first started, I had to pay $15,000 for a camera system. And then like 4 years later, all this wireless technology came out. Now you can get them for like a couple of $100 and you just have neat Wi-Fi in the facility. So now it's great. You can have cameras in all the common areas, outside. You can know who's going, who's coming. It's so easy to manage these things now. If you have policy procedures, you can be anywhere, and even your staff feel like you're there. Because if you see something happen, you can call. Hey, I see somebody came. Like, who was that? Can you look in the log and see what name they signed? I didn't recognize that person. Say like, oh, dang, he's watching us. We need to be on the ball. And these cameras have microphones too, so you can listen. So easy to manage now. So much more easy to manage now than it was from a distance. I'll say with the food ordering and everything, it's just a lot easier. So, in the next one, we talk about family and resident communication. I just gave an example, having policies and procedures. I had a client that we called their family. And then when a client family member comes, even if there's no incident, and they want to know how their family member's doing, you just pull a book out, open it up, say, hey, they didn't miss any medications. There was no real incident. From the care notes, they seemed like they were doing well. She didn't want to participate in this event. And she kind of was upset that you didn't visit her for the last month. And that's pretty much been it for the last few weeks. She ate all her food, everything was fine. You want copies? No? Okay, thanks. Enjoy your visit. So then they're like, oh, this person's on top of it. They even have detailed notes on my mother. Wow, great. So it's just one of the things where it's gonna make people look at you like, wow, they have their stuff together. And then the last one is one of the most important ones. You have privacy and confidentiality. You can't release these files to just anyone. So it's HIPAA violation. So a person's medical records and their conditions can't be released to everyone. It's only for staff, power of attorney, which whoever's the decision maker, and then the resident and people that are care providers. Those are the only ones. You can't just go out. This is why I don't really give names, and when I give files out, I don't give full policies and procedures, because some of those policies and procedures have, care plans of certain residents attached to them. And you shouldn't, because you can get sued, you can definitely lose your license. So, and you have to keep these files up to 5 years after, in most states, after these people, after you sell or people move out. So you have to keep them for 5 years. Either you keep them in a facility, or I like to keep them somewhere in storage. So, no one loses it or something happens, God forbid, I can have them somewhere safe. But, just make sure you maintain your client's privacy, because you'd be surprised, a lot of scammers out here. People are like stealing old people's identities, and it's just bad. It's a lot of evil people out here. So, just watch these people information like you watch your own information, because this paperwork has their whole life. It has their conditions, their name, their previous address. It has their social. It has their medical history. So you're pretty much literally handling someone's, life story in your facility. So this also, the meds need to be locked up. Your client books need to be locked up somewhere safe. It just can't be open where someone can walk in and take it. This stuff has to be locked and keyed. So, and that has to be in the policies and procedures too, where you have to make sure you tell your staff that you cannot walk away from this medication cabinet without it being locked, under no circumstances. If you have to stop giving meds to care for someone, close that medication cabinet and close it, because you have a client with Alzheimer's, dementia, they can walk up and say, oh, it's not a pill, and take it. And it's not even a pill, and they'd be dead for taking someone else's medication. And it's something can happen that quick. Or you have these. So just, in your policy and procedures must be very, very specific regulations that outline that medication need to be locked up. This is how you don't give medications out 3 at a time. You don't care for 3 clients at a time. If you need help, ask for help. You have your meetings. Make these people's lives easy. They're going to make your life easy, because you're on vacation, you're doing something, and you get a call, a stressful call from your business. That's the last thing you want. So it's best to just hit all it off at the pass and make sure you have, a business where you're taking care of as much things as you can, because you're going to have issues, but you don't want to have issues where it's things that you could have prevented. It's things that you could have trained your staff on. And you for sure don't want issues that keep popping up over and over again. If you have issues that keep popping up over and over again, like medication errors and just falls and stuff by the same people and the same things, that's on you. That means you're a bad owner. You're not changing the policies and procedures. You're not retraining your staff to handle these situations. So that's going to be on you. And the state's going to know, like, hey, you keep having these same issues over and over again. Like, why? What do we need? Now we need to step in to make sure. Now we're going to say you can't even have these kind of clients here anymore. Now we're going to lower your number of residents down, or now we're going to close you down altogether. So you keep having these same issues over and over again, it's only going to look bad on you. And you're going to lose clients.